Like the name woven wheel suggests, this stitch is all about weaving. I'm going to show you two different styles of woven wheel, one with a closed center and one with an open center. To begin a woven wheel with a closed center, we need to use straight stitches to create the spokes, which start on the outside edge and will all meet at the center point. Any woven wheel that you will stitch will need to have an odd number of spokes for weaving. The actual number is usually determined by the size of the circle. In this example, I am using 5 spokes. Next, you are going to bring your needle and thread up through the fabric, just to the side of the center, near one of the spokes. Going either direction, take your needle and begin weaving over and under the spokes around the circle. Over one, under the next, over, then under. You are basically going to continue this weaving around the circle until you have completely filled it. One thing that will likely take a little practice is finding the right tension for your thread as you weave. You want to pull your thread just tight enough so it lays in a nice circular shape. Not so loose that you can see the spaces between your thread, and not so tight that it pulls into a wonky shape. You will also want to be careful not to snag any threads while you are weaving, because pulling even one thread out of place can mean distorting your entire woven wheel. Keep weaving basically until you can't anymore. Ultimately, you want all of the spokes to be completely covered. One thing that I like to do to finish off my woven wheels is add a stem stitch around the outside once I have finished weaving. To do this, I put my needle and thread down through the fabric, right on the edge of the wheel, or even tucked right under the edge, leaving a loop to the outside of the curve, then come back up through the fabric, back a stitch length inside that loop. Pull it very carefully so you don't distort any of the weaving. Continue with your stem stitch all the way around the circle. I like to make my stitches about the same length as the distance from one spoke to another so it blends nicely with the weaving. When you have reached the end, just tuck your needle and thread right under the edge of the woven wheel and you will have a beautiful rose shape. A woven wheel with an open center is done exactly the same way, except your spokes do not go all the way to the center of the circle. And when you start weaving, you will bring your needle and thread up through the fabric right next to one of the spokes. The rest of the steps are the same. Weave over one spoke, under the next, over, under, until the circle is filled to the edge. In this example, I am using 12 strands of floss to create a chunkier woven rose shape. To do this, I cut a long piece of floss, and when I threaded my needle, I folded the floss over, pulling both ends together and tying a knot to secure them together. So when I pull the floss through my fabric, it is doubled, making 12 strands. Because of the open center in this woven wheel, you may want to use the blunt end of your needle to shimmy the inner layers of floss into place. Again, I am adding a loose stem stitch around the outside of this woven wheel to give it a finished look. As for the open middle, if you are using this stitch for a flower or a rose, the middle can be filled with French knots or another stitch for a fun finish.